Hello friends, welcome to my channel SushantChessWise. Today we are at the second part of our London system with black. By the way, this is my course for players, those who are generally 1800 plus students. For them, I teach these lines and they have been very useful. So black is trying to equalize in these lines. The main thing is that against the London or any main opening, we need specific and purposeful ideas. So that is what this opening repertoire is all about. Let's get to the position quickly today. We will discuss the main move nd2. So firstly, I will show you both the move orders. Let us start with the d4 d5 move order. After d4, d5, nf3, nf6, bishop f4, e6, c3 or e3, c5, e3, and c6. This e3 and c3 can be interchanged by white, and here the main move is nd2, white delays bd3, and here black will play the move bd6. So this same position we will get from our d4 and f6 move order. This is for the players those who play the Budapest defense as black. So what we have discussed is after d4, nf6, nf3, c5, c3, e6. Now we need to support the c5 pawn. All this we have discussed in part 1. So bishop f4, nc6, e3, d5, and here white played bd3 in part 1. So that was everything regarded the move order and all that was considered in part 1. Because already this lesson is very lengthy, I am not discussing all these things. White plays nd2 here. He delays bd3 so that he can use bb5 at some point. So bd6 is played, and here the main move is bg3. We will look at other lines as well. Main plan for black we will often see. He goes queen e7, castles, and plays e5. First, let us start with bd3. This we discussed during the bd3 line. Black takes on f4, ef, qb6, attacks b2, and now this all was there in part 1. So I am not going into too much detailing. dc then qb2. Check out over there. This is just to show you the transposition part. So here after bd6, other main move. Now queen d6, bishop b5. See, this move was necessary to stop e5. So now castle, and now again we want e5, but see, bishop attacks on c6. So castle, bd7. e5 was not possible, of course. e5 would have allowed bishop c6 as I said, and then we take on e5. So bd7, and now the move a4 is absolutely necessary, because if we don't play a4, there was the threat of nd4. So bishop c6, knight e5, knight d7, and this is the way, typical way to repulse this knight on e5. Next move will be f6. So f4, f6, nd7, bd7, nf3, and black has a plan of getting this bishop to see e8 square, and then this bishop is heading to h5. We can trade this knight, that is plan 1. Second, the bishop can halt at g6 and try to reach e4 or d3 square. After playing c4, black can plant the bishop on d3 and try the moves b5, a5, b4, very similar to the minority attack. So black seems absolutely fine. He could be somewhat better also if the bishop becomes well. Right now we can say the position is roughly level. Let's look at the third move, knight e5. Very important one to know for black, because see, this knight can be annoying. So black plays qc7. We discussed last time that now we want to pressurize this diagonal. So let's say bb5, most obvious move, castle, bishop c6. There were more attacks on e5, pc, and now the right move is castle. If queen a4 is played, the white king is in the center. So black uses the very important and a very strong move, nh5. He wins a pawn here. See how. After queen c6, knight takes f4. Very strong move. Point is, if e takes f4, then bishop c6, and the piece is lost. The piece of winning position. And after queen c7 also, there comes g2 check intermezzo, king f1 forced, and now see, knight e3 check. Not only we are winning a pawn here after fe bc7, but look at the bishops. Bishops are going to become very strong. This bishop can, one, go to a6. Secondly, see, after f6 e5, both bishops will become very dangerous. So of course black is. So the right move is castle instead of queen a4, and now see bishop a6, rook is attacked, rook moves, and cd4, cd4, c5. Black gets rid of these double pawns. He can consider the move c4 and rook b8 to pressurize b2. Overall, we can say black has equalized. This knight can aim to go to e4 as well. So now black first castles before he goes queen e7, bd3. Now comes queen e7. See, why not qc7? Because d takes c, and the pinned bishop is the cause of concern. So we cannot take bc5. So next move, white can play b4 and protect this. So qe7, and now e5 has to be stopped. So main move is ne5. Let's say white castles, then after bishop g3, hg, e5, d, knight e5, knight e5, queen e5. Black has equalized very easily. I will show you some lines here. If nf3, then just queen h5. Queen can be played to either h5 or d6. Both make the position completely equal. Maybe black has slight edge also. And if rook e1, then also see rook d8, good move. We want to use the push d4 or e4. Right now we are discouraging the move e4 because of the pin on this spine. So queen a4, c4, pushing the bishop back. Bishop has to go to e2, bc2 allows ng4, and maybe a timely queen h5. be2 is better than bishop f5. The e4 square is in our hand. So rook d1, queen c7, driving away from the nf3 attack, and now let's say nf3, then ne4. The knight is heading to the c5 square. So after nd4, bg6, black has this plan, knight c5 followed by nd3. Black has slight edge perhaps. After b3 here, then we take, queen takes, and bishop e6, threatening d4. Pawn is trying to attack this queen and the c3 pawn both. So queen moves away and rook d6. Here too black is somewhat better. c3 is bit weaker than d5. So let's say rook b1, rook c6, rook c1, and black wants to play rook c8. So a7 needs protection. So the move b6. Indirectly now, see, we protect a7 with the queen, and next move will be rook c8, and black is clearly better. Another move instead of ne5 here is d takes c5. See, this is all advanced preparation is all about. We cannot leave any line for chance. We should know the plan. That is the main purpose. See, bishop c5, e4, and now d is bit minus because d, ne4, ne4, be4 will be slight edge for white. We will do nh5, very important move. Knight looks very odd at first. Also, we should never take on g3 whenever this rook is still on h1. So it looks like an odd move. So let's say bh4, then f6, castle, and then knight f4. Knight settles on f4. This gives roughly, we can say, good game for black. Okay, slightly better game for black after b, c2, d, e, ne4, rook d8, queen moves, bb6. Black's position is absolutely fine. Knight is heading to the d3 square. So bg3. Also, we can play knight e5 at some point. f5, e5 are also in the offing. So this is a good position, we can say, for black. And here after the move, queen e2, this is the main move. Rook e8. Now see, play is revolving around the e file. White wants to castle long. So he can either take ed this way, but this will equalize very easily. So let's say nb3, bb6, long castle. Short castle will allow us to take ng3, hg, and equalizing after bd7. So long castle, and here too bd7. Black wants to get d4 very quickly. So this position is also fine. You have to be a bit careful about taking on g3. That is the whole thing. And we cannot play d4 right now because queen is eyeing the h5 knight. So we'll have to get rook c8 and all before that. But black is doing absolutely fine. Next we are into the main line now. After queen e7, white goes ne5. This line has to be known very well. Okay, and now here comes nd7. This is a very familiar idea. We attack e5 knight, and mainly the problem is white will take nc6. So let's look at two main moves here. One is the move f4, okay, and other is the d knight coming to f3. So main is nd f3. First let us look at f4. After f4, f6, if bh7 tactic, then king takes, queen h5, kg8, ng6, queen e8, and now see knight f3, then knight e7. This is a very important move. The idea is that if white insists on nh4, then we do f5 followed by rook f6 this way. We'll attack this knight with all the force. And if white instantly gains material, let's say check, king f7, nf8, queen f8, it is two pieces for rook, and after queen h5, kg8, it is only black who is somewhat better, clearly better for black. This is two minor pieces are worth more than a rook. So knight takes c6, b takes c6, castle, and if you want to really have a totally equal position, then go for the solid f5. Positional players like this, after nf3, play slowly. Okay, so we do c4, bc2, c5, dc, knight c5. So mutually the knights are eyeing the central places, knight d4, then knight e4, roughly equal game. Soon if we want, we can play bishop c5. But if you are looking for a complex battle, then after castle you should try the move e5. And after e5, what happens? The position will get opened very soon. After fe, queen h5, nf6. Now rook f6 is of course met by g takes f6. We need to support h7. So queen h4, and now h6. Black has moved some pawns on the king side, but see, this bishop will not be able to be sacked on h6. So that is the point. So e4, and now see, simplification takes place. cd, cd, rook b8, d, be5, nf3, queen moves back, and now if e5, then knight g4. This is a good move. Knight is eyeing e3 and the e5 squares. Perhaps takes, rook c1, queen check attacking b2. So queen f2, queen protects b2, and after the trade of this bishop with bs6, totally equal position, qb6, rb6, ba6, ra6. Black is in fact very marginally better because of his deep. Some may say that it's an isolated pawn, but it's also a passer. So overall it's a equal position actually. So let's go to the final main line, ndf3. That will complete the whole variety of setups. Now comes the most important part of our preparation, the move c4. Because see, if we do f6 instantly, then what happens? Knight c6, bc, bd6, qd6, qc2 comes. We don't want to allow qc2, and we don't want to play h6 here. Okay, so keeping that in mind, our key preparation, this move was a new one that time, c4, first forcing the bishop back to c2. See, the bishop has no business on e2, because after the trades, knight e5, de5, bishop c7, castle, you can see this knight from c5 is easily eyeing the e4 square. Black may become better also. There is going to be the move c, b5, a5, b4 plans. Black has some edge, we can say. So the right move is bishop c2. After bishop c2 also same f6 idea, knight c6. If knight d7, bd7, we can't hold e5 for long, castle. Of course, immediate e5c you cannot do because d5 is weak here, we cannot play e5. So first bg3, hg, and now also see e5 will allow de followed by d5 is weak. Okay, so b5, e4, b4. This is a typical way to generate play. ed, rook e1, queen is safe on f7. So d5 is very well taken care of. No kingside attack coming up. There is no knight g5. There is no knight e5. And after bc, c3 is also somewhat weak. We cannot attack it immediately. Again, it's a level game. So the main move is knight c6 here. Pawn takes on c6, bd6, qd6. Castle is an option. Other move is qb1, but here we can easily play the move f5. As compared to the previous line, you can note that bishop, queen and rook, all the three are really passive and black can generate play against b2. Let's see a bit. After castle, a5, and now the plan is very simple. We want rook b8, a4. If a3 is played, then b2 is definitely a weakness. So this is a good position for black. So white plays castle here. After castle, a5. Very similar idea. e4. White wants to open the center. b7. If e5 here, we need to know this move. First rook e1 will be played, and after c5 he guarded e5 first. Now if e5 here, then takes on e5 is really bad, because knight e5, rook e5 makes e6 quite weak. So what we will do here is, we will just take the queen away to e7, and then after ef go with rook f6. Very interesting move. Now if he takes on e5, we can just take, or we can also ignore and play the move rook a f8. And if he does ng5, we play h6, push the knight back, and then go rook f8. So we are in fact also threatening rook f3 to some extent, we can say. Here too you will say black has got very good counterplay. So after bb7, rook e1, c5. So white will not play e5 perhaps, but if he is not doing e5, then black himself can look to play the move e5 at some point. Or there is going to be the move cd4 very soon. So this makes the position, we can say, roughly level. So you saw how much detailing is necessary to equalize with black. See, these lessons are for advanced players only. You can say that less than 1600 players will really get bored with this kind of stuff. They may not understand all this. So I generally consider these lines for around 1800 to 2000 level players only. So I hope you are liking these lessons. Definitely let me know in the comments below. Thanks for your time.